18 race days, some incredibly close matchups, and the 10 best drone racing teams in the world. It's all come to this. Welcome to Yas Mall in Abu Dhabi. We are live with the Drone Champions League Season 2 finals. I think it's time we get this thing started. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. We are live from Abu Dhabi here in the center of Yas Mall with the best drone racing teams in the world. We are the Drone Champions League. We are the World Championship of Professional Drone Racing. We travel the world, turning amazing places into amazing drone racing tracks with our game, DCL the game, the simulator you can get on PlayStation and Xbox and PC, and in our real-life races we used to have and coming soon as well. This is Abu Dhabi. This is the Split 2 finals. So excited to be here. We had an amazing day one yesterday. I hope you managed to join us for that here on the stream as well as here in Abu Dhabi. It's going to be so very exciting. Let's show you how this is all coming together today. So we got matches coming up. They're going to be in a race order like this. Yes, 6 races in the matchups coming up to start today. 2v2s and a 4v4s as well. You get 4 points for a win in any of them, 3 points for second, 2 points for third, 1 point if you come in fourth place. And the matchups, what am I talking about? Well, we are making our way through this 2-day tournament. We had 18 race days to get here. Our 10 amazing teams fought in those. The top 6 teams were invited to Abu Dhabi. Now only 3 remain. 3 teams were eliminated yesterday. They were the China Dragons, SDT Perpetuum Coin, and unbelievably the 2-time reigning world champions and the Split 1 champions, Raiden Racing. They were all eliminated in yesterday's action. 3 teams remain to go through the rest of our elimination bracket today. And if you thought yesterday's track was challenging, it's a new one today. Let's show you around what our pilots have had 1 hour to learn. So starting off in the Adneck Exhibition Hall with a straight and then a 180, and then the first of our ladders, it's a right-hand descending one. Then you go over the far side, pull back through, and then into the block trade 2, and then there are 3 block trade gates after this. Now this track has been designed to trip up our pilots a little bit. This is a left-hand ascender, then a right-hand descender. We'll go around a couple of turns before we come to a corkscrew. 5 DCL gates in a row. We only corkscrew 4 of them. Then it's a hard 180 out of the 5th. A couple more 180s here. Go around the pylon and back through this gate. Get a little close to the wall. This thing that looks like a goal, you need to corkscrew over that. And it's a left hand up and then a left hand descending ladder. That's important to realise because usually our ladders go left hand up, right hand down. Usually they're opposite directions. These ones, it's left for both of them. 3 gates, and then 4 more to follow after that, and 3 laps in total. This track is called The Force, and this track is going to trip people up a little bit because there are so many elements in it that are a little bit different to what we've had before. These 5 gates in a row, usually we would corkscrew all of them. You will have heard me if you watched the Split 2 season on YouTube or on TV. You'll have heard me talking about these quadruple corkscrews or triple corkscrews. It's always been all of the gates, but not today. Today there are 5 gates, but it's a quadruple corkscrew. You'll roll through 4 of them and then exit out through the 5th. And the ladders, yeah, they may be in different arrangements than you're usually expecting. Up and down, but not necessarily left and right. The pilots have had 1 hour of practice, and I can tell you now, those elements did what they intended to do, which is trip some people up and make it a little bit difficult and making them think about what it is that's coming. They only had 1 hour of preparation just before we went live now. Now, who are we talking about? Who are the teams that remain in the Split 2 finals and could be our champion? Let's introduce them to you. Cyclone Racing, here with J-Box, Zion FPV, the Ice Cheetah, and Fluorescent. They entered this tournament in 3rd. They were second place after the Split 2 season. Had a 2nd and 3rd place playoff in the 2nd match of yesterday. Beat China Dragons down into the elimination bracket. That saw Cyclone go through into the first match we have today. Their opponents in that first match, it's the legends of XBlades Drone Racing Team out of the UK. They have Sally1 and Yayu, Star 23467, and Shane. We've seen great performances from these. This is the only team to have completed a season undefeated. 18 wins out of 18 race days. Naturally, that made them the #1 seed. They pushed SDT down into the elimination bracket yesterday. They'll be in the first match coming up in just a few minutes' time. The third team that we've also got ready to come, of course, is Quad Force 1. They are down in the elimination bracket awaiting the loser of this matchup. So we will come to them in the next game as well. 3 matchups today, 6 races in each of the first 2, and then 7 in our grand final. That'll be the last moments of Split 2. So the first match is coming up now, and our pilots are doing 4 2v2. So 2 pilots from one team against 2 pilots from the other. Then their partners will come and race as well. It'll be a different 2 versus 2. And then we're going to have 2 more 2v2s. We never normally do this. And the pairings have to change. So you can't just settle with the same pairs. We have to mix them up. You'll see as we get there one time at a time. It's time to go racing, everybody. The first race of the Split 2 finals today will feature Yayu and Star 23467 against the Ice Cheetah and Zion FPV. 3 of these pilots are here with us in Abu Dhabi. Star 23467 is racing from home. All of our teams have 2 pilots here on our stage and 2 pilots racing from home as well. It's Yayu on one side of our stage with a lot of fans. Star 23467. Great pickup for XBlades ever since he left China Dragons. And then the Ice Cheetah and Zion on the Cyclone side of things. And Cyclone were one of the new teams who joined the DCL in 2023. They had an amazing Split 1, their first time in the DCL. Now they're here in the Split 2 finals with a guaranteed of 3rd place or better. The loser of this is not out of the tournament. Let's explain that again. These teams still have 2 lives. If you lose this matchup, XBlades or Cyclone, they will drop down to what we call our lower bracket or our elimination zone. And in the elimination zone, those teams only have 1 life left. Quad Force 1 started in that yesterday. They have defeated every team who faced them. They are still here. Quad Force 1 are waiting right now for the loser of XBlades and Cyclone. Whoever wins it goes straight to the grand final. Both teams would love that shortcut. Let's find out. Yayu and Star 23467 in light blue for XBlades. The Ice Cheetah and Zion in purple for Cyclone Racing. Now we'll go through the 3 block trade gates and then around these pylons before left-hand ladder up, right-hand ladder down. That one's a little bit straightforward, but tight at the top. Yayu and Zion bouncing back and forth, 1st and 2nd. Star, half a second behind them. The Ice Cheetah got off to a bit of a slow start in yesterday's racing, is a little bit behind as we've started into today's. Yayu, Swan there, 4 XBlades, currently in the lead. Zion FPV is chasing him now, 0.6 of a second behind. Star 23467 is very close to trying to get 2nd place from Zion. Zion needs to try and do something about Yayu and now Star, who's trying to get him and took 2nd just for a moment and is back into it now as he goes through the 3 block trade gates on the 2nd lap. He's 1/10 of a second ahead of Zion. XBlades trying to keep first and second. Zion isn't done yet. Comes back into that matchup, is switching back and forth with Star as they both come out from the corkscrews and then head around the far side of the DCL gate. Meanwhile, Yayu is 2 seconds or so ahead of them, although had a little bit of a dangerous moment there. Star has dropped out behind Zion now. There's a bit of a gap opening up between all of the pilots. It's looking very well arranged for Yayu to try and get 4 points in the first race of the day for XBlades. Into the DCL ladder goes Yayu on lap number 3. Pulls back through A2RL. Here's Zion in the chase for him for Cyclone Racing. He sees Yayu in front of him. It's 3 seconds or so now. They'll make their way around the pylons. Left hand up the ladder. Right hand on the way down now. Yayu maybe 4 seconds ahead of Zion, no matter what Zion is doing. The gap's not getting any closer. Star is still a little bit too far behind to try and make this a 1-2 for XBlades. Looks like Yayu will get a win unless he has a big crash and it'll need to delay him for a long time, as Zion, with 4 seconds between them, is not too near to catch him. And Yayu near the end now. Final turn. Yayu gets the first win of the day for XBlades. Zion takes second. Star is third. And Chesley, the Ice Cheetah, is going to limp around now through the final gates, and he'll bring his drone home for the first race of the day. XBlades on 6 points. Six points to 4. XBlades getting the first win of the day thanks to Yayu, who got the first win of the day yesterday. And unbelievably, Yayu, in his first race of yesterday's action, got the second fastest time of the whole of yesterday's racing. And that was in his first matchup. First race, 1 hour of training, came out, got his quickest time of the day, and it was the second fastest of everybody. How well is he going to fare today? Well, he's already picked up 4 points for that win. His teammate Star 23467 gives them 2 points for coming in third place. That means they've got 6. Cyclone have got 4, but we have so many races, and that's going to change the dynamic, because normally in our season it's just 3 races. We had 4 yesterday in each of these matchups. It's 6 today and 7 in the grand final, but we're not there yet, so don't tell anyone. Semi-finals stage is really where we're at right now, and XBlades with a 6-4 lead. But we know Cyclone, we know from talking to them many times and interviewing them, they're one of the teams who think we just want to try and cancel out the other team during the racing in what we call the small heats, the 2B2s. They don't need to run away and try and win those. They just want to try and get 5 alls and things like that. So they've just skipped a little bit behind in the first race of this one. Now we'll see what their teammates can do and whether they can change the score and try and even things up, or better for Cyclone. It will be Sally 1 and Shane against J-Box and Fluorescent. And of these 4 pilots, Sally 1 is the only one racing here live out of Abu Dhabi. Everybody else racing live from their homes. XBlades versus Cyclone, the second matchup, the second race of 6. You'll see on the side of the screen the teammates watching earnestly here from Abu Dhabi as their compatriots race from home, except for Sally 1 in the top right, who is here, and a crowd forming around him, watching him fly, which is a challenge that our pilots here have to deal with. Shane currently is leading for XBlades. Then Fluorescent, 1/10 behind him. J-Box somewhere around there as well, second and third for Cyclone. And Sally 1 trying to get involved now, and he tries to go underneath the pack as they go around the far side. Head onto the big left-hand sweeping turn through the goalposts. Shane drops from first to second to third. Both of the Cyclone pilots have passed him, and J-Box and Fluorescent are hard to catch. Half a second, J-Box, then Fluorescent. Sully 1 about half a second behind them. Shane with him. But they don't need to be jostling between each other for third and fourth. They've got to break this purple pair for going into first and second. This will be a huge result for Cyclone if they were, after 6 races, to have outscored XBlades Racing. It's possible, but with the season XBlades have done, it is going to be so hard for anybody to do. Quarter of a second, J-Box, then his teammate Fluorescent. Shane going a little bit wider, trying to carry a lot of speed through a very smooth turn. Gets Fluorescent, is alongside Fluorescent, who we're on board with. There's a blue drone in front of him now. That's Shane for XBlades. Through the 3-gate slalom and then coming around to the end of lap number 2. Final lap, J-Box, half a second. Shane trying to pull away from Fluorescent and try and keep that second place. He's starting to leave Fluorescent behind. This is the chaser for XBlades. chasing J-Box now into the small slalom. Left hand up, right hand down, very tight at the top. You're going to go from one immediately into the other. Shane just losing a bit of a grip on J-Box, and Fluorescent comes for him, takes second place from him on the final lap. Will go for the big left hand turn into the goalpost, and J-Box has got Fluorescent, his teammate, in the best scoring position behind him. The ladder, the first one, the second one. J-Box is good. Fluorescent is passed by Shane. Shane through the slalom, the final gates, the final turn. It is Shane taking second place back from Fluorescent, and Sally won here in Abu Dhabi. With a bit of a nudge from his teammate Yayu, the matches tie up now as it's the opposite result. Cyclone win that one, and they'll get 6 points coming in first and third. So that's a 6-4 for XBlades and a 6-4 for Cyclone. Yep, that's 10 points all. There's not going to be much to spare between these two teams. 10 points all. Now, normally we would go for the DCL Big Heat, and that would be the final race of a matchup, and there will be 10 points available with all 8 pilots fighting for them. But here in the Split 2 finals, the challenge for our pilots increases as we are going to mix up those pairings. They had to choose them. They now have to pair up for 2 more 2v2s in a different arrangement. Let's see who the next pilots are going to be in the third of the 2v2s. Okay, I can tell you, we'll get to that in a moment, and the pairings have got to be different, like we've said. I believe it's going to be Yayu and Sully 1. So the 2 pilots who are here in Abu Dhabi didn't race together in that first pairings, but they're going to race together in this one. Yayu and Sully 1 will be against the Ice Cheetah and Fluorescent. Now, Fluorescent is racing from home. The Ice Cheetah is here. We can confirm the scores for you just to show you how this thing is progressing as well. 6-4, 4-6, as we knew from XBlades versus Cyclone. And Yayu at the end of that second heat looked a bit surprised, a bit of a on him as he realised his team aren't going to run away with this thing, and Cyclone are very much in the hunt for that shortcut, straight route into the grand final that they want to have. So it should be Yayu and Sully 1 against the Ice Cheetah and Fluorescent in game race number 3. 3 pilots here dealing with the pressure of being in front of a live crowd in Abu Dhabi. Fluorescent, brilliant new pilot for Cyclone, been really quick and very important for him. He is racing as one of the 2 pilots from home. XBlades have been with the DCL since it formed back in 2016. Our team races started in 2017. XBlades won 5 World Championships in a row. Raiden Racing took the last 2 World Championships from them and other Split 1 finals, but they were eliminated yesterday. We're going to get a new Split Finals champion today. Most people are expecting it to be XBlades. They are by far the favourites for this with their undefeated season. Cyclone, yeah, they definitely want a part of this. Yayu and Sali 1 in the 3rd race against the Ice Cheetah and Fluorescent. Sali 1's gone all stealthy in the corner, hiding his way and turning into Aquaman. He's behind Yayu, who's behind Fluorescent, and they're all just ahead of the Ice Cheetah as they come around one of the first turns into the first obstacles here. Fluorescent in the front. Yayu sticking with him. Sali 1, about a 1/10 of a second behind his teammates. The Ice Cheetah a few seconds behind, as is Sali 1 now. That's come undone a little bit quickly for him. Yayu fights on the turn. Almost had Fluorescent. Goes through the ladders. Is a little bit nippier. Maybe a little bit more direct, but not necessarily quicker. And now he's starting to push for the lead. Fluorescent comes around at the end of lap number 1. And Yayu side by side with him. Just 13 thousandths of a second between the 2 pilots, but that's coming a bit undone. Fluorescent manages to stay in front of Yayu, and they'll now go into the pair of ladders, and Yayu tries to go around on the inside of him. He's not got him yet, and we're coming up to about the halfway stage. Through the corkscrews, there's the 4 and the quick exit on the 5th. No problem with the practice time these pilots have had of just 1 hour, but they're still making it work. Yayu into the lead. 4/10 of a second ahead of Fluorescent, who seems a little bit rattled by it. He's a little bit low, he's a little bit skittish along the ground. Sali 1 not in a position to try and get any more points for XBlades. He just wants to hang on to the third that he's got, and we're on to the final lap with Yayu back in the front. Half a second, maybe more now, but ahead of Fluorescent, who's starting to struggle under the pressure around the block trade section. Goes Yayu into the pair of ladders. Fluorescent tries to move on the inside. Isn't there yet. Yayu still 6/10 ahead of him. Can Fluorescent do anything on the corkscrew? Yayu's got it dialed in. Fluorescent nails it. But Yayu is still doing it so well. Not much racing time left. Through the goal, Yayu into the pair of ladders. Left up, left down. Yayu's leaving Fluorescent behind. The gap has got bigger as they're through the slalom. Fluorescent with only a couple of turns to do anything about it. Yayu is cleanly out of there. In front of him, 2 to finish. Yayu with another big win by over a second. Fluorescent second. Sali 1 completes it a little bit further behind. It's going to be, for the third time between these teams, another 6 points to 4 race. Congratulations to Yayu. Second win in 2 races today. What amazing flying. And that one was even quicker for him. That was 2 minutes and 4.374. Easily the quickest time. So I think he's the only pilot who's gone under 2 minutes and 5 seconds. Let's confirm the scores for you. Yes, so even. There's not much to call it in this. If one team comes first and fourth, the other team comes second and third. That's how a 5-all happens. That's going to make it really hard to split the teams. Could it happen? We'll find out. The next one is another 2v2, the last of the 2v2s at this stage. So Shane and Star 23467, the 2 at-home pilots for XBlades, they're going to race next. And they're going to go up against J-Box and Zion. Now, Zion has really been coming into his own. He was so important to Cyclone yesterday in helping them get a straight win over China Dragons and go through to this semi-final. Now, he's racing here. Everybody else racing from home. He's going to have to deal with the pressure. Zion in the middle of our stage. Let's see what happens and whether Cyclone can claw this back to a 15 points all situation or more. Shane and Star, 23467, J-Box and Zion for the challengers, Cyclone Racing, against the previous 5-time world champions of XBlades. Zion, J-Box, Star, Shane, all within 1/10 of a second of each other. Really strong start from these pilots. J-Box was brilliant for Cyclone as they joined at the start of 2023. Zion's been flying so well for them throughout Split 2. Shane has been coming into his own and finding some really dangerous routes. If anyone's going to find a shortcut, Shane is the one who's going to try it. If anybody's going to use a shortcut at a risky time, that's also Shane. You don't think he's going to find any around here. He's already 3 seconds behind. Zion just 1/10 or 2 behind Star, and now in front of him, J-Box a little bit more ahead of the pair of them. Around the long turn, through the 4 gates, onto the start of lap number 2. J-Box, now it's Star, now it's Zion, who's the one behind him. There's only a few hundredths between Star and Zion. Zion just back into second place as he goes down the straight there into the ladders. He'll see J-Box spiralling ahead of him. He'll see Star spiralling ahead of him. That's terrible for Zion. That's a real danger now as Shane is not too far behind. J-Box and then Star in a scrap for first and second. Zion's got away from Shane as Shane has had trouble right at the back. So we're seeing Star just wobble a little bit into those ladders as J-Box starts into the slalom. 6 gates to maneuver around there. 3 of them then in a row and not a problem for J-Box there. The 4 gates through the turn. He'll start lap number 3, a second in the lead over Star 23467. Star now you can see he's not as close as he was. Star is getting left behind. J-Box is getting away from him. It's now 2 seconds. The pressure on all of these pilots, but J-Box appears to be thriving. You can see his teammate, the Ice Cheetah, laughing in the bottom right of the screen as he realizes how well J-Box is flying. I know that look from Chesley. That's a wish I could do that look. Now Star is nowhere near him, 2 seconds behind. This is really important for Cyclone, but they need Zion to catch Shane or it's going to be 5 points all, and that's not going to do anything about the 2-point lead that XBlades have got. Star only just makes it through that gate and is now in the finish. Zion's not going to catch Shane. He's got the third. Zion will limp it home now around the final corner and coming in fourth. 5 points will go to each team for that. They cancel each other out. That's not what Cyclone wanted to come from that, as they're 2 points behind XBlades, and they remain 2 points behind XBlades, even though with that brilliant win from J-Box. But it does show a bit more confidence emerging in the Cyclone Racing team. The score, of course, will bring it to you now. 21 points to 19. Just 2 points in it, but now we have races 5 and 6. And races 5 and 6 are the legendary DCL Big Heats. This is what we do here in the Drone Champions League. All 8 pilots racing at the same time. 4 points to the winner, then 3, then 2, and then 1. 10 points available. That is plenty for Cyclone to use to turn this 2 points deficit around. But, of course, XBlades would love to get the lion's share of these as well and keep that lead. The winner of this goes straight to our grand final later on today. Those 8 pilots are ready. Yayu, Star, Shane, Sali 1 for XBlades, J-Box, Fluorescent, Zion, and the Ice Cheetah. They're coming from Cyclone Racing. And remember, there is another big heat after this as well. So a lot of points available. This 2 point gap between our teams, very little at this stage. But a big change can happen right now in a DCL big heat. So we'll get into that in a moment. Let's talk a little bit about how well these teams performed yesterday. XBlades had a scrap against SDT. That was their first part of this journey, as they managed to knock the Spain drone team down to the elimination bracket with a 26 points to 14 win. That was a good start to the day. Obviously, any win is a good start to a day, but it was a strong performance from XBlades to help make all the other teams realize what it is they're up against. Remember, XBlades, 5 times world champions, until Raiden had beaten them in the last 2 years, and undefeated season, 18 wins out of 18. 19 wins if you count yesterday's to start the finals. Can they put Cyclone down here? There's this race and one more big heat to go. Everybody within half a second of each other. All 8 pilots. Now it seems like it's going to start to stretch. Shane goes to the back just when it was filling up with Cyclone's purple pilots. Shane is behind everybody. Star getting to the 7th place, dropping behind as well. This is bad news for XBlades. Those are great performers, thankfully for them. Sali 1 looks like he's coming into this track, and Yayu, who's got 2 wins out of 2 today, is in the front where he loves to be. Yayu leaves Sali 1, 0.2 of a second. One more is where Cyclone start to enter into this with J-Box, who's now scrapping alongside Sali 1 and only 0.05 of a second behind Yayu at one moment on that turn. Now J-Box here, trying to stay consistently into second. Fluorescent moves, Zion moves, because Sali 1's had a problem live here in Abu Dhabi. Sali's gone back, Shane is still down there. The Ice Cheetah has dropped to the floor and to the bottom of its leaderboard by a huge margin. It's another 5-all situation right now, but Fluorescent isn't done yet. J-Box isn't losing the lead to Yayu too. As Cyclone move from 4th to 3rd, they drop from 1st to 2nd. Now Yayu on the final lap, 0.13 of a second, ahead of J-Box. And then a close race between Fluorescent and Star and Zion. Can he take 4th place? Can he get Star out of the points and get 1 there? It's looking possible. Yayu might be the only one to score for XBlades. J-Box 2nd, Fluorescent in 3rd. Coming around the corkscrews, it's still Yayu, but by only 1/10 of a second ahead of J-Box, who's trying to get on the inside of him here. Through the goal, the corkscrew is very good indeed. Into the ladders, we see J-Box trying to get that lead. Now through to slalom as he chases Yayu. It's 0.2 of a second. He's been flying great, and Yayu is still out flying him. The final run to finish by only 1/10 of a second. Fluorescent gets third. XBlades get fourth, with Star fighting back into it. XBlades with 5th and 6th, and Zion and the Ice Cheetah here on our stage will limp home in the last 2 places. 5 points, all that is going to be as well. Oh, it is so tightly contested between these teams, and XBlades, with this undefeated record that they've had, have been, of course, top of our Split 2 season for the entire 18 weeks of it. But Cyclone, been around that 2nd, 3rd place throughout, never behind by much, swapping places with China Dragons at the end of the season as well, and a couple of times earlier than that. Cyclone in 2nd at the end of the 18 weeks, XBlades in the lead of it. It is so tight between them. And remember, XBlades have been with the DCL since 2016, when it was an individual series, which they won. 2017 was our first full year, and they won 5 World Championship titles unstoppably in a row until Raiden spoiled their party 2 years ago. Let's take a look at the scores that are coming up between our teams right now. So it is 26 points to 24. Still only 2 points in it. Still only 2 points. All coming down to one more DCL big heat. 10 points available. All of these pilots fighting for them. Is Shane going to find his rhythm here? Is Ice Cheetah going to get it working for Cyclone? Will we have Yayu racing Zion near the front again? Hold on tight, everybody. 3 laps to see who goes to today's grand final and who has to fight again. J-Box, Fluorescent, Yayu, Sali 1. Zion wanting to have something to say about this as well. Cyclone have to score at least 2 more points than XBlades. If it's a tie, we'll have another big heat, which will be a winner takes all. Never mind the points. Whoever wins it will be the champion here of this match, and we'll go to our grand final. Cyclone in purple have to score at least 2 more points than XBlades, and right now J-Box is trying to take 1 from Yayu. Fluorescent needs to stay ahead of Shane. Zion not featuring enough just yet. The Ice Cheetah, unfortunately, at the back again. Star, brilliant pilot for XBlades, isn't contributing right now. Yayu, within 1/10 of a second, is J-Box trying to take it from him. He's so close. Oh, he's gone wrong on the exits. Oh no, J-Box has lost 6 or 7 seconds. This really difficult course absolutely threw him at that moment. And Cyclone go from being in possibly 1st and 3rd to just 4th. Fluorescent trying to hang on, but XBlades showing their skills. And Star making a sweep for XBlades. What a damaging end of this matchup that would be for Cyclone. Fluorescent is in a position where he'll only get 1 point. XBlades will get 9. There it is. Star back into the fight. The pressure on Fluorescent was immense. He's now dropped down to 7th. It's all come undone for Cyclone Racing. On to the final lap. Still plenty of flying to go, but with the gaps being the way they are, Yayu is going to lead his team into the in and out sideways slalom that we have. And there's Yayu. Shane 3 seconds behind him. XBlades Sali 1 completes it. Star makes it a sweep unbelievably. In the last big heat, XBlades clean sweep. Cyclone, all the points are theirs. A huge end result, making it 36 to 24 points. A massive dominant showing at the end for XBlades Racing, and Cyclone will leave us in 3rd place if they don't manage to beat Quad Force 1 after a heavy loss there. We'll get to that in the next matchup. Welcome, Swan Yayu here, everybody. This brilliant pilot. What a showing that's been for your team. I think that's 3 wins out of 3 for you, maybe even 4.
Yeah, crazy. I'm very feeling confident on the track. So, yeah, the 4 races have been very great, and we take the win, so everything is there.
Yeah.
Now let's focus on the final, and let's see who will be racing against.
Yeah. You, I know, have been so confident as a team. 18 weeks of wins will do that for you. 18 wins out of 18 races puts you in as good a position as you can be. Coming into this, Cyclone have been putting good performances. I know you're confident that you're going to win the whole thing.
Yeah.
Who do you want in the grand final? Cyclone again? Would you love this rivalry of Quad Force 1 to come back?
I don't know, but like, yeah, I think Cyclone just very shocked us. Like, we were not waiting for this result. Like, we were thinking they were gonna be like behind us, and no, they were like in battle with us. And that's like, they were no longer the rookie team, they were like a big team. So yeah, we really have to be careful with both teams. I think Quad Force 1 with Hyper and Pop Cycle are going to be very hard to beat, but still G-Box and Fluorescent and Ice Cheetah and Zion made an amazing semi-final, so yeah, just let's see. And
you don't know, do you have a preference who you want to race?
Yeah, maybe Quad Force 1, but we'll see.
Rivalry, XBlades and Quad Force 1 has been going since 2018 when the American team joined the DCL before your time, I know, and the pilots who are here as well. So that's always a rivalry we enjoy.
Yeah.
It's been a while since XBlades has won a title. You guys had a really strong performance in Split 1, let's not forget that. We got eliminated in the Split 1 finals before the grand final.
Yeah.
You would love to get another title and a big moment for XBlades.
Yeah, it's been 2 years that we have been looking to that, and yeah, we want that it's finally be true. So
we'll find out who you're going to race next in the next matchup. Yeah,
sure.
Everybody, with XBlades, the winner of our first matchup here live from Abu Dhabi. Don't go anywhere, we'll take a short break, and then fighting for their lives, Cyclone Racing have to go again, and waiting for them are Quad Force 1. They've taken out every team they've matched here in Abu Dhabi. Are Cyclone next to fall? We'll find out soon. Will it be Cyclone, who they just defeated, or will it be Quad Force 1? Let's meet the teams. Quad Force 1 from America, AK Drones, Propsicle, Hyper, and QT FPV, a team who've given us so many storylines, so much excitement, so much community spirit as well, but never claiming a DCL title. They were the closest to XBlades back in 2018 when they were runners-up in the world title. Since then, they've never been quite the same team in our real-life races or our virtual series. Cyclone Racing were far ahead of them during the 18 weeks of Split 2. Here, J-Box, Zion, the Ice Cheetah, and Fluorescent have got to win. They want to get back in a scrap with XBlades, except for the last big heat in the matchup we just saw. XBlades and Cyclone were very, very close on points. Now both of these teams are here with just one life remaining, so the loser of this will be the team eliminated in third place from Split 2. The winner of this will go into the grand final, which will be up after this matchup and bringing Split 2 to a close. XBlades are already there. Will it be Quad Force 1 for another incredible rivalry, which is always so entertaining, or will it be Cyclone going after them again? Propsicle and QTFPV line up in the first 2v2 for Quad Force 1 against the Ice Cheetah and Zion FPV for Cyclone. These four pilots in this first TV2 are all here on the stage in Abu Dhabi. All of these racing live with our growing audience around them. Welcome everybody. Keep the support coming for the teams. Propsicle, QTFPV, the Ice Cheetah, and Zion. Quad Force 1 from America in blue, Cyclone with their American pilots racing in purple, and they attack this challenging course that we've given them just 1 hour to learn today. Zion in the front, his teammate the Ice Cheetah struggling again, already in fourth, moving with QTFPV back and forth, swapping places. We're on board with Zion as he tries to remain in the lead, and I say try, because behind him, and gaining a little bit here, a few hundredths here and there, is the captain of Quad Force 1. That's Silas Aaron, who races as Propsicle. He's the second pilot down on the right-hand side, as you can see, and he is 1/10 or less behind Zion FPV. So close between them. On to the second lap. Zion still just ahead of Propsicle. Now they'll turn for the ladders and then dive down two very different routes over the top of that gate. Zion remains in front of Propsicle by 0.06 of a second. Into the first of the ladders, on board with Propsicle. You can't see Zion as he's alongside him. Through into the corkscrews now, 1 and 2 and 3, 4, then the hard 180 out of that, and Propsicle now into the lead. Comes around the long left-hand turn to the goalposts. Under and out of that goes Zion. Propsicle ahead of him by about 1/10 of a second. That ladder is good for Zion. It was good for Propsicle as well. Oh, they're still together. 1/100th of a second between Propsicle and Zion onto the last lap now. This gate was a bit of a slip up earlier, and it's another bump for Zion. He's now got seconds to catch up on Propsicle, and I can tell you now that Propsicle is rarely caught. This could be a really good start for Quad Force 1 again. Propsicle looking in a commanding position now. He's been flawless throughout yesterday's racing. Looks like he maybe enjoys this track today even more than yesterday's. Through the goalpost he goes. Zion has lost a bit more time. He's almost 3 seconds behind. And QT would need to get into a big problem for the Ice Cheetah to catch him. The Ice Cheetah for Cyclone not dialing this track in, struggling with it so far. Propsicle far and away the winner. Zion in second. QTFPV will come in third and get 2 points there. Quad Force 1 are delighted with that. Here comes the Ice Cheetah. And that gives Quad Force 1 a 6-4 lead at the start of this matchup. First and third, 6 points, as we've seen a number of times in the matchup earlier with XBlades against Cyclone. Cyclone come out of this one on the lower side of the scoring. But they turned that around against XBlades, went into the big heats a lot closer than they were. The 2v2s were very similar matchups with XBlades. If anything, Cyclone have had a better season than Quad Force 1, and on paper should be the winner of a matchup with Quad Force 1. They had such a strong season. They beat so many other teams. Nobody managed to beat XBlades, including Cyclone earlier today. But Cyclone, even though they're a team who joined at the start of this year, haven't been with the Drone Champions League even for a whole year of competition yet, unlike Quad Force 1, who joined 6 years ago. Cyclone have come in, but against them now, Hyper and AK Drones line up for Quad Force 1. Hyper was the best of all of the pilots on yesterday's track, by far the quickest, getting quicker and quicker all day. He ended up with the best lap time of the day, and it was about 0.4 quicker than anybody else could manage. Now as Hyper got track 2 dialed in. Track 1, amazing for him. Track 2, can he do it again? It's a completely different layout. It's the same Adnec exhibition hall that we're racing around. Oh, Hyper! Just as I was wondering whether you could get track 2 flying so well. He's at the back, swapping places with AK Drones. Cyclone want this, first and second. Fluorescent and J-Box, they were strong on this track earlier. They were outclassed by XBlades. Can they outclass Quad Force 1? Hyper wants to say something about that as he's in the chase for them. AK Drones, 3 seconds behind. Not likely to do anything about this Cyclone pairing. Looked almost like J-Box or Fluorescent was about to miss a gate, but they made it work by a very slim margin, and now Fluorescent starts lap number 2 with his teammate 0.05 of a second in front of him, and Hyper about 1/4 of a second behind. Round the turns to the pair of ladders. J-Box, Fluorescent, 0.005 of a second there. Still about 1/4 of a second, maybe slightly more. Back is Hyper in third. A 1-2 for Cyclone would be something they would be absolutely delighted with. Maximum points you could get in a 2v2, 7 points to 3. They would love to get into a lead over here, but this has all gone wrong as Fluorescent is still in second. J-Box has gone behind him. Hyper has moved past him. What was a 1-2 for Cyclone is now a lead for Hyper from Quad Force 1, and he is getting away. Hyper through the OTRLs, through the block trade tunnels. Fluorescent getting a lot closer than he was. It was 0.7. Now it's more like 3. J-Box looks close, but he's a few seconds behind with some complicated turns. Fluorescent has got to nail this. He comes out of it. Hyper still there. Fluorescent caught on a pylon. Loses some time. Hyper through the ladders. The two Cyclone pilots are side by side. AK Drones is 24 seconds behind, able to do nothing to help with a bigger take on points. And Hyper's been passed. J-Box has got him. Fluorescent has got him. It's a 1-2 for Cyclone. They had it. It looks like they've thrown it away. Quad Force One are behind the pair of them at the end. Look at the smiles, including on Propsicle's face. He won't be fazed by that. Big smiles from our pilots here. Oh my! 6 points to 4 was perhaps what they were hoping to do, to try and tie things back up again. But no, I told you, Cyclone, if anything, they ought to be trying to get in front of Quad Force One based on their season's performance. That was really, really good flying. The score is now 9 points for Quad Force One. It was a 2-point lead. It's 11 points for Cyclone Racing. The 2-point lead is theirs. So more 2v2s to come. Remember, 2 more 2v2s for these pilots, and they have to change the pairings. It was an unusual pick, that last matchup, that Cyclone chose their 2 pilots here in Abu Dhabi, and Quad Force One did as well. They have to pick those pairings, as I've said a few times, before the racing gets anywhere near. They have to pick those pairings before they even know what the other team has chosen. They don't have a clue who the other team has picked up. And we've done a lot of interviews. You'll be able to find them on our social media and on YouTube as well. And you'll be able to find them on all of our different channels. We're the Drone Champions League and Drone Champions L on X, formerly known as Twitter. Feels like we have to say that bit. If you watch back with any of the interviews that we've released over the last few days, all the ones that are soon to come, you realise Cyclone are one of those teams where they feel like, okay, with this point structure, with first and second and third and fourth all scoring something, it's not just winner takes all, and with more races, they feel like big heats is where they can turn things around, and of course they've got 2 of those in all of these matchups. 3 if they make it to the grand final. I know that's confusing, but our grand final has 3 big heats in it. It's going to be phenomenal. Who it's going to be? Well, it's definitely going to be XBlades. We know that. And there's another story going on, which we'll take the time to delve into right now. Quad Force One, they started in our elimination zone. They were racing against Raiden Racing. Quad Force One in 6th place, only just scraping into the top 6 teams who come here to Abu Dhabi. Raiden Racing were in 5th. They both started in the elimination zone. Quad Force One knocks out Raiden. They then knocked out SDT Perpetuum Coin. And then in the last action of last night at around midnight here in Abu Dhabi, they knocked out China Dragons. And now China Dragons are here on our stage cheering on Quad Force One, who were the team who eliminated them. Why? Well, firstly, because all of our teams are cheering each other on, because everybody here loves a good race, but also because the DCL World Championship for 2023 will be decided in a few weeks' time in December in a location I can't tell you yet, but you'll find out soon. Make sure you follow our social media. We will be bringing you an incredible location for our finals, our World Championship battle at the end of 2023. And if Quad Force One win today and are the Split 2 champions, they'll get a ticket straight to that finals. Raiden already have theirs as they're the Split 1 champions. There will be 4 teams at this amazing location. If Quad Force One win today, China Dragons believe they will get the 4th place in the grand finals. So Quad Force One knocked China Dragons out yesterday. Now China Dragons really want Quad Force One to take this whole thing. That's not a situation you see very often. And that's the situation that China Dragons are in, with big smiles on their faces. They don't have to race for their place. They just have to hope points work out in their favour. They were 4th in Split 1. At the end of that, they were eliminated in 4th, and they were eliminated last night in 4th from Split 2 as well. Let's take a look again at this amazing location that we're in. The win is close! Cyclone are going to get 3rd. on the final turn. There it is! And that's why he's the best finisher in the DCL. Still in front of him.
Let's go.
Yes, live to you from here in Abu Dhabi with our partners Block Trade and with the exciting developments in the future with the A2RL, the Abu Dhabi Autonomous Racing League. We're delighted to be working with them with some amazing activities for 2024. And December's Super Final will be coming soon. Can't tell you any more just yet. Our teams looking to get securing those places in that final. 4 teams will join us wherever we end up being. We know, but we can't say. I want to tell you. This matchup, though, that's ongoing here between Quad Force 1 and Cyclone Racing is for the last spot in the Split 2 finals. Propsicle, the captain of Quad Force 1 with AK drones, against the Ice Cheetah, the captain of Cyclone, and Fluorescent. Cyclone now 2 points ahead of Quad Force 1. And 4 more races, including this one, to go. Very close start. Everybody about 0.2 of a second between the front and the back, which is, or was, Fluorescent and the Ice Cheetah. But Propsicle has come to play. And their charge yesterday, as I just mentioned, Quad Force 1, beating so many teams. Raiden Racing, the reigning world champions, and the team who beat them in the Split 1 final. They saw off Raiden Racing. They saw off SDT Perpetuum Coin from Spain. They saw off the China Dragons. Can they see off Cyclone and then race and beat XBlades in the grand final today and take the win of the whole thing by having beaten every team one at a time? Well, one step at a time is where we need to go. And right now, Cyclone are looking like they might tie this thing up with Quad Force 1, 5 points all. As 2 seconds, nearly 3 seconds now is the gap between Cyclone and Propsicle in the front, with Fluorescent flying really well. But now, 3 or 4 seconds even, the Ice Cheetah is at the back behind the other pilot for Quad Force 1, AK Drones. Fluorescent has the exhibition hall all to himself, but Propsicle is a heck of a chaser. Let's see what he can do. The left-hand ladders are gone into the slalom. He flies. That gap's not getting much smaller, if at all. Fluorescent goes around now to the start of lap number 3. On the turn, into the first of the ladders. The little solo ladder on its own. AK Drones just lost a bit more time though. In third, the Ice Cheetah's not catching him, but AK Drones is making a few mistakes and getting a little bit further behind. So the AK Drones needs to keep it up and not make any chances that the Ice Cheetah could take advantage of. Fluorescent round the far side, onto the turn. Here's Propsicle's view around the pylons and heading to the goal. He knows that Fluorescent is about 2.5 seconds ahead of him. He won't like that. Look at the face of Silas Aaron on the right-hand side. The second pilot down for Quad Force 1. Feeling the pressure a bit. Fluorescent's got the win. There's Propsicle not happy with coming in where he did. 1.7 seconds behind. The AK Drones struggling a little bit. The Ice Cheetah was trying to take it, but he won't. And Propsicle claps his teammate AK for getting the third. They didn't lose the position. If they had, they'd have conceded 2 more points to Cyclone. Instead, they have tied that series up. Interesting to see these pilots, and it's great to see the reactions of the ones who are not racing when you can see what they're doing mid-game to cheer on the pilots who are. We've not really been able to see that in any situation before, but we can here on our Abu Dhabi stage. That one goes to a tied 5 points all. So it's still a 2-point lead for Cyclone Racing. 14 points for XBlades, 16 for Cyclone. One more 2v2 to come, and then the 2 DCL big heats. So, can Cyclone put a bit more of a gap here? It feels like whatever happens in this 2v2 is probably going to be very close. It might end up being another 5-all. We had races like this all through the first matchup today. If you missed it, do go back and watch it when you get a chance. With XBlades Racing against Cyclone, those were 6-4s and 5-alls and those kind of scores. And then one of the big heats really surprised everybody with that 10-0 sweep from Quad Force 1. They'd love to do something like that against Cyclone here. Let's see what happens in the next 2v2 before we get to it. With a 2-point lead, J-Box and Zion FPV for Cyclone will try and get away from Quad Force 1's Hyper and QT FPV. Now, J-Box and Zion have been so good for Cyclone throughout the whole of 2023. J-Box the better of the pilots early in split number 1. Zion doing very well towards the end of split 1 and throughout split 2. Hyper was flying well earlier but made a couple of mistakes. QT FPV isn't quite as quick as everybody so far and is at the back. Zion and J-Box are not to be underestimated for Cyclone. Hyper's currently just about hanging on to his lead, but it's very close. Nobody can afford to make a mistake or this race will come undone. Zion tries to go above and past Hyper. Hasn't got him quite yet, and around that corner. Now he tries to go on the inside. He's still not there yet. Hyper, if anything, no matter what Cyclone were doing on the end of this first lap, Hyper maybe getting away throughout the slalom, but getting caught on some of the tight turns here. Hyper leading J-Box onto the start of lap number 2. Zion with him as well. Less than 1/100th of a second between J-Box and Zion briefly. Now it's about 1/10 of a second. Hyper, then J-Box, 1/10 of a second more. Zion into the ladders. J-Box into a ladder. Hits it hard. Stays in second place. How? Zion's in front of him. What's happened to Hyper? He's gone from this battle. Zion now half a second ahead of J-Box, who's had a bump or two. Hyper dropped down to third. Look at the faces of Quad Force 1, QT FPV and Propsicle in the top right of your screen. Looking on a little bit more serious now, but Hyper is back. Never count him out, and Propsicle whispering some words of encouragement to him. It's very close between Hyper and Zion. J-Box looks like he might be a little bit too far away. Zion getting caught on one of the turns, has lost loads of time. QT is coming for him, but probably not going to be close enough to do anything since we've only got this lap to go. 3/4 of a second for Hyper to catch up J-Box as he goes through the corkscrew just about one gate behind him, now around to the far side. Half a second. Hyper is catching J-Box through the first and the second of the ladders into the slalom. Hyper still with about half a second to do. He took some chunks out of that lead that J-Box had, but there's not enough race to do it all. J-Box with the win. Hyper fought for second. Zion is going to keep third. And QT having a rough one there. Not what Quad Force 1 wanted, to lose again to Cyclone Racing, who were 2 points ahead of them. So now the pressure a little bit stronger on our classic American team in blue. Quad Force 1 needing to do something about it. The high fives, the fist bumps, the woos that we got earlier on, and that charge that they were on throughout yesterday's event on the first day of the finals as they took on and beat every other team that they were against. Now they've really got to start turning up in the big heat. 18 points for Quad Force 1, 22 for Cyclone Racing. That 2-point lead has become 4 points now after the brilliant performances just there. So let's go for the DCL big heats. 10 points available in this. Everybody fighting for them. Seen strong performances from Zion and J-Box as well, Propsicle and Hyper. Their teammates can mix things up too if they can get this track tamed. Ready for the starts. Cyclone 4 points ahead of Quad Force 1. 1/10 of a second. Everybody into the first gate. Now it just begins to stretch. Propsicle, Fluorescent, Hyper and J-Box. These pairings starting to emerge. Little internal scraps. Little internal fights. First, second, third and fourth. Fluorescent low. Propsicle really high on the far side turn. And into the ladders, it's Hyper. Back into the lead. J-Box in second. Zion and Propsicle very close. Fluorescent in that fight as well. Then we got a fight between the Ice Cheetah and AK Drones, but that's down in 6th and 7th. It's only the top 4 positions that will score. Hyper, J-Box, that lead being split between them. Now it's J-Box's. On to lap number 2. He'll try and move away, but Hyper won't let him. Propsicle would love to catch him as well. Fluorescent is a little bit further behind Propsicle. The gap between 3rd and 4th starting to open up now, and it's got worse for Cyclone. Zion's now the 4th place. Fluorescent's gone back. There's a big gap between Zion and Prop. Hyper is losing a little bit of a grip on J-Box, but some of the track seems to suit J-Box. Some of it seems to suit Mason Lively, who's Hyper for Quad Force 1. It's now less than 1/10 of a second. Hyper getting closer to him, and we've got a whole lap to start now. Here we go on to lap number 3. J-Box, 7/1000 of a second only ahead of Hyper. They cross paths, they cross the streams, going through into the A2RL gates and down the tunnel. We're on board with Hyper. 2/10 of a second into the left hand and then the right hand exit. He tries to move up on J-Box, but J-Box is, if anything, a few hundredths of a second further from him. But Hyper was catching J-Box when we got towards the end of the lap. Can he do it again? Hyper, 1/10 of a second behind J-Box and coming for him in the ladders. Hyper pushes up to the lead by a few thousandths of a second. J-Box pushes back. We're coming up to the last section now. Through the slalom, 4 gates to go. J-Box is back in the lead and takes it all the way to the end. J-Box and Fluorescent are tying it up with Hyper and Propsicle, 1st and 4th, cancelling out by 2nd and 3rd. Then Cyclone in the better of the remaining positions, but they don't score you any points. That one is going to be 5-all, deservedly so, you have to say. Both teams, 1st and 2nd, 3rd and 4th, both teams in and out of that. Pilots really showing us what it's like to race under pressure here in Abu Dhabi and racing from home in this unusual environment for the teams. And on a brilliant track that they've never seen except for 1 hour of training just before we went live today. They didn't have time to think about it and try and put any practice into sort of discussions with the team. Didn't have a chance to sit down and draw lines and try and explain to each other what they'd figured out. They just had 1 hour of training. We can show you this track again. Let me take you around it. Well, not me. I don't fly. Not like this. We wouldn't be getting very far if I was flying. So there's the first of the ladders. Then you go around the far side of this and pull back on a 180. Through block trade up and over 1 and out through the second. Then there's 3 in a row. Couple of 180 turns and into these 4 gates. Left-hand ladder up. Then a right-hand ladder down, and that right-hand ladder disappears when our pilots do this. Then there are 5 gates in a row. Normally our pilots would corkscrew all of them, but instead you've got to pull a hard 180 to get out through the 5th. That caught a lot of pilots out in training as they're so used to corkscrewing all of them. Under the goalposts, left-hand ladder up. Is it a right-hand ladder down? No. It usually is. Yep, but not today. Around the slalom, 6 turns here. And then 3 more coming up in here. Hard 180s between all 3 gates, and then 4 more gates to complete the lap. Go straight on for the finish gate at the end of lap number 3. That's what it looks like, a little slower, thanks to Shane Adams, our track designer. And that's what our pilots are racing around. And don't forget, on DCL, the game, our brilliant simulator that you can play on PlayStation and on Xbox and on PC, as our professionals are doing. You can race that with keyboard and mouse, you can race that with a gamepad, and you can race that with a professional racing controller, a real drone transmitter, and our radios if you want to get up to that sort of level. You can learn how to fly a drone in DCL, the game, in our simulator. It's a realistic simulator. Start off with the gamepad you already have, or keyboard and mouse, and then progress up, connect a real-life controller before you go flying and crashing real-life drones. They're not easy to fly. They're certainly not easy to race. Good idea to practice in a simulator while you can. You can get DCL the game on PlayStation and Xbox and via Steam for PC and Mac. And our teams have just getting this track better and better all the time, despite it only being 1 hour of training on it before we went live. Here's the scores as they stand. 23 points for Quad Force 1. 27 points for Cyclone Racing. It is now very much a dominant performance by Cyclone. They are 4 points ahead of Quad Force 1. 4 points ahead and 1 big heat to go. 10 points available in it. Nobody's got this thing won yet, but XBlades have got to get at least 4 more points than Cyclone did. Quad Force 1 have got to get those points against Cyclone right now, or Cyclone will be having a rematch with XBlades in the final matchup of Split 2 coming up shortly. Before we get to that, Quad Force 1 need at least 4 more points, and we are into the racing. Hyper, then Propsicle, and now it's all starting to get a little bit troublesome for Cyclone. Hyper out in front, Propsicle their captain in third. It's J-Bots between them and Fluorescent in fourth. Now that's a better position. They can't afford to give away first and second to Quad Force 1. If they do, then we're going to have at least a tiebreaker between these two teams. So J-Bots has to hang on 2 seconds. We're already on to lap number 2 and into the first of the ladders, and J-Bots hanging on in about a quarter of a second behind Hyper, and as a drone passes him, it's his teammate Fluorescent, and Propsicle has passed him as well. That is not what they want to see, as Propsicle is getting into the race, and Quad Force 1 are getting back into the big points. J-Box splits the 2 pilots. We're on board with Propsicle trying to get second place back. Hyper is half a second ahead of him and J-Box. And there's Hyper leading between the 2 ladders. But look how close it is. 3 drones all battling for second, third and fourth in the gate at the same time. We go on to the start of the final lap in this race. Hyper now half a second or so ahead. J-Box just trying to get away from Propsicle, but Propsicle is still right on his tail, and Propsicle needs to move, has to move, or this is going to get tied up, and that is going to see Cyclone in the final, and Quad Force 1 be eliminated in third place. It's so tense here as China Dragons are willing Quad Force 1 on to beat Cyclone. Remember, as I mentioned earlier, and they're back in that position. Hyper in first. J-Box moves into second. Propsicle takes it. J-Box takes it back. Propsicle's got it now. J-Box has lost a few tenths. If it stays like this, we're going to go to a tiebreaker. Propsicle is delighted. Hyper only just 1/100th of a second behind him. Then it's J-Box, and then it's Fluorescent. 18 thousandths of a second between Propsicle and Hyper, and then almost a second between them and the Cyclone pilots of J-Box and Fluorescent. Unbelievably, when it looked like it was getting away from Quad Force 1, we are going to have our first tiebreaker of Split 2. We almost never have these. We had a couple, I think, at the Split 1 finals. Now it's tiebreaker time. We've raced 6 races between these two teams. They are all tied up on points, which means we will have one more sudden death DCL big heat between Quad Force 1 and Cyclone Racing. It's not about points anymore. The first drone into the DCL finish gate takes their team to tonight's final. It was 23 points to 27. Quad Force 1 coming in first and second, gets 7 points there. That means only 3, that's a 4-point difference. That's why it's all tied up. 30 points all. Winner takes all. Everybody, 0.08 of a second between all 8 pilots out of the blocks and into the first gate. Who's going to be the hero for their team and take them to the final? Will it be Quad Force 1 knocking out another team and a team who finished far above them in the leaderboard? Or will it be Cyclone Racing ready for a rematch against XBlades? Here's Propsicle. Hyper just underneath him, just in front of him. J-Box about 4/10 in front of both of them. Winner takes all. We can't cancel this out. You can't come in first and fourth against second and third. You've got to win this race. Is J-Box going to do it for Cyclone? We're at about the halfway stage. He's still there as we're in the middle of lap number 2 and swinging for the gates. J-Box 0.2 of a second ahead of Propsicle now. Hyper had a little bit of a slower turn. He's now back with Propsicle, but they're not with J-Box just yet. J-Box leads this beautiful purple and blue procession to the goalpost. He's under that. Hyper trying to catch him now. Propsicle trying to stay with them. Fluorescent too far behind to do anything about the lead, but might give Quad Force 1 a little bit more to think about. Might be a little bit more of a distraction. Start of the final lap. This is it. The winner of this takes their team to the Split 2 finals. J-Box, been in the front throughout, is still there, but Hyper is close. Look how near he is, just behind him. J-Box trying to hang on to it. Hyper, 1/100th of a second behind. It's so close, we're into the corkscrews. They're doing that so beautifully together. This is J-Box's view, who's in second. Hyper's gone past him. Quad Force 1 are trying to get past Cyclone. Through the ladders, it's so close now, 1/10 of a second. J-Box back into the lead. Through the slalom, can Hyper hold it together? They're on the final gates. J-Box leads them. Cyclone go to the finals. And Quad Force 1 are eliminated at the end. And such scenes on our stage here. China Dragons wanting Quad Force 1 to win that because they think that would mean that China Dragons will go to our World Championship final in about a month's time. And yet China Dragons were the first ones over to congratulate Cyclone on what a battle. And now huge hugs and scenes between both of Quad Force 1's pilots here, Propsicle and QT, and with the Ice Cheetah. And this man here, Zion FPV, who comes in now. Wow. I've got to say, that looked like it had got away from you. Your performance against XBlades was strong. Okay, you were beaten by them, but I think you were expecting to maybe lose the first matchup that you're going to have against XBlades. Let me just untangle you. That one looked like it was getting away. You were 2 points ahead of Quad Force 1. That didn't feel safe.
No.
4 points ahead, did that feel safe?
It felt safer. It gave us a little bit of breathing room, but we were still trying to make sure we didn't lose any points if we could. But that last race was intense. That was really intense, yeah.
How are you feeling right now?
I'm feeling good.
You've done 2 matchups.
Yes.
Lost the first one against XBlades. Win this one. Now you go to our final, and it's XBlades who are waiting for you again. Does winning this sort of charge you up to go and do something different against them?
I think so, because I felt like we were pretty close in that first race versus XBlades. I mean, we were only 2 points behind for almost the entirety of the event until that last heat, and you know, I think we're all feeling pretty good, so we're gonna chase them down and see what happens.
What happened in that first matchup with XBlades? What can you tell us about how it was being so close and then you ended up getting swept in the final big heat, which is very rare?
So I think that we just ended up making a bunch of unlucky mistakes. It happens, it's racing, and they put up a really good fight, so we're just gonna try and be better.
I would say that whatever the outcome is, what a year this has been for Cyclone Racing.
Absolutely.
Right? Your first year in the DCL, we had 10 teams for the first time, 5 new teams joined this year, and you are here, Split 2 finals, battling a team who previously were 5-time undefeated world champions a few years ago. You haven't just turned up and started in the DCL, you have shaken it up. That's got to really mean something to you.
Oh, absolutely. I'm so proud of my entire team, and I know we're proud of ourselves. I mean, we were 5th in Split 1, and even that we were super proud of because, you know, we were still beating out at least a team that had been in the DCL for years. And so now to be here on this stage, at the very least 2nd, it's an incredible feeling. Like, first year in the DCL as a team, it's just amazing. I'm so proud of my teammates. I'm so proud of how far we come. And no matter what happens in this final, this is exactly what I could have dreamed of.
This is our trophy for first place. This is our trophy for second. There is a third place trophy as well.
There, I
don't
hold
need
it,
to show that right now. One of these is yours.
Indeed.
Which one would you want?
Well, I want this one, of course.
That is our amazing trophy for our Split 1 champions, and it could be you, Zion FPV, with the Ice Cheetah here in Abu Dhabi, and your teammates racing from home. Can Cyclone, the new team in 2023 who've really shaken up the league so far, go all the way and fight back out of the elimination zone and get one over the brilliant legends that are XBlades Racing, the team who beat you just a few minutes ago? We're going to find out. Good luck, Zion.
Thank you.
We'll take a break, and then the big final with all 7 races is live here from Abu Dhabi next. And welcome back to the beautiful Yas Marina in the center of Abu Dhabi in the United Arab Emirates. I'm Matt Andrews. This is the Drone Champions League. We're the World Championship for professional drone racing teams. We are delighted to be here live in Abu Dhabi, and today and yesterday has been our DCL Drone Prix Split 2 finals weekend. It is time to find out who will be our Split 2 champion. One more matchup awaits us. 2 incredible teams with very different histories in the DCL are going to be battling for that title, and with it, a guaranteed spot in our grand final in December, where we will crown our 2023 World Champion. This final between XBlades Racing and Cyclone Racing is going to be fought over 7 races. We've never had this many before. 1 and 2 will both be 2v2s. 3 and 4, other 2v2 arrangements. And then 5, 6, and 7, 3 DCL big heats. So many points available. 4 as always for a win in any of those races, then 3, then 2, and then 1. This changes everything. This changes your strategies. This changes your pairings, your lineups. We've got 4 2v2s and then 3 big heats. Lose one, you've got another one to recover from and try and get all the points back, as we saw earlier on. Lose 2, there's a third one. Let's meet the teams now who are going to be battling in there. XBlades, the legends. Previously 5-time DCL World Champions. Here with Sali 1, Yayu, Star 23467, and Shane. Yayu and Sali 1 are racing here in Abu Dhabi. Star 23467 and Shane are racing from home for the team. This team haven't got a title of any kind, big or small, in the last 3 years. They were the 5-time champions. They included, they also won back in 2016 when we had 2 individual races. They won that little season as well before the real DCL team seasons kicked off in 2017. They won that, 18, 19, 20, 12. It just goes on and on and on until Raiden Racing from Japan stopped them and became the reigning 2-time champions. Since then, XBlades, not the world champions. Also, not the Split 1 champions earlier this year. Cyclone Racing are one of the brand new teams in the DCL. Of the 5 teams that joined us this year, it was Cyclone Racing who have made the most impact, finishing the Split 1 season earlier in 23 in 5th place at the finals, and the only one of the new teams to make the finals. They're only one of the new teams who made it the Split 2 finals, and they completed the 18 race days in 2nd place. Now they're guaranteed to be at least 2nd in the Split 2 season finals, as they're in this grand final now with J-Box, Zion, the Ice Cheetah, and Fluorescent. This is a big matchup right now. XBlades played Cyclone a few times in the season. XBlade won that, as they did against every team they faced, completely undefeated. Also undefeated in yesterday's racing and in the first race of today's finals. Now they've got to face Cyclone again. So if you're XBlades, you're feeling strong from your season of 18 weeks. You're feeling strong from yesterday. You're feeling good that you beat Cyclone earlier on today. But it was very close. Cyclone, 2nd on our season when the 18 weeks were done, and then losing to XBlades just earlier on today. But, like I say, it was very close. The first 2v2 in the big final for Split 2 of 2023. It is Yayu and Star 23467 who will line up for XBlades. On Cyclone's side, it will be the Ice Cheetah and Zion FPV. Yayu is here for XBlades in Abu Dhabi. The Ice Cheetah and Zion as well. Star 23467. Thomas Kunt racing out of Germany for XBlades. Brilliant pilot in the DCL. Been fantastic for a couple of teams. Very important to XBlades. So 2v2s. Yayu and Star. Then their teammates will go. Ice Cheetah and Zion in this matchup, then their teammates will race. So we'll see Sali 1 and Shane for XBlades in the second 2v2, and J-Box and Fluorescent will be against them for Cyclone. Then there'll be more 2v2s with different pairings, and then 3 big heats. And a team like Cyclone, as I mentioned earlier on today, they were saying we don't really try and win the 2v2s, we just try and cancel out the other team. Obviously, if they can win them, they want to. But they're happy with 5 all draws. What they want are big heats because they think they can get the lion's share of the points in a big heat. Well, you've got 3 of them. 3 of them in which to try and beat XBlades. But you know what? From chatting to XBlades earlier today, they're using the same plan. Let's go racing live here from Abu Dhabi. It's the final of the Drone Champions League Split 2 of 2023. XBlades Racing against Cyclone Racing for the title. 7 races to come. This one starts off. Yayu and Star 23467. In light blue for XBlades. Zion and the Ice Cheetah in purple for Cyclone. Now the Ice Cheetah racing here on our stage finds himself a few seconds behind in 4th place, as he's done throughout the racing today, and also on a different track but at the same location yesterday. The Ice Cheetah, the captain of the team, he doesn't worry about getting all the wins, but he'd love to help his team get a few more points. Yayu nearly gave the lead then to Zion as he bounced off one of the pylons. But we go on to lap number 2 with Yayu still ahead of Zion, not able to catch him despite that mistake that he made. And 0.6 of a second is the gap. This race is stretching in all positions. It's stripes at the moment, Yayu and then Zion, Star and then the Ice Cheetah. And there's time, lots of time between every pairing here. This race stretches, but now Star is getting a little closer to Zion, as Zion has lost some time and dropped further behind Yayu. A long way from catching him, but Yayu goes through the ladders, hits the ground, hits a pylon, and isn't caught by anybody. That was a mess for Yayu. He's such a brilliant pilot. He never makes mistakes like that. He made 2 in a row. He made some earlier in this, and yet he is still 3 seconds clear. That shows how quickly he's flying. That also shows that the other pilots are nowhere near keeping up with him. He gave away the lead here if Zion had been closer to him, but he wasn't close enough to take advantage. There's Zion coming around some of the earlier turns as Yayu completes the goalposts. Goes into the first and out of the second ladder. He's just got 6 turns of this slalom to do. And 4 seconds is the lead now. Yayu is gone and Star takes Zion. That is not what Cyclone wanted. But Cyclone goes back. Zion now in front of Star. Sarli 1 looks stunned. He's not in this race. He's watching his teammates. It is Stripes, it is XBlades, and then Cyclone, and again. And it is 6 points to 4 for XBlades in the first race of our Split 2 final. That was all over the place for everybody. Yayu never really in danger of losing it despite the many mistakes he made. And even though many in this instance might only be 3 or 4, I still consider that quite a lot when talking about Yayu of XBlades. And he is in such great form, so relaxed in his racing here as well. Let's see what his teammates can do. Let's see if Cyclone can close that gap. They've been 2 points down a few times today. They're 2 points down now. Sarli 1 and Shane, J-Box and Fluorescent on the corner of our stage with a little crowd gathering round him. Sarli 1 from XBlades, everybody else racing from home on these teams. Here's the second race of our Split 2 finals. You'll see Yayu at the top. You'll see Zion and the Ice Cheetah at the bottom on the right-hand side watching their teammates. Zion and the Ice Cheetah knowing they've let some points slip. Currently, Stripes again. Shane, Fluorescent, Sarli 1, J-Box, and now XBlades start to squeeze. Sarli 1 just a few hundredths of a second behind Fluorescent. Not much between any of these at the moment. About a quarter of a second between all 4 pilots. And Shane, who we've not talked about a lot during Split 2, he's not been quite as dominant in the races as maybe his teammates Yayu and Sarli 1 and Star have been. Shane out in front here. Sarli 1 trying to stay with him. This is his view in second place as we go on to lap number 2. Fluorescent, though, trying to catch Sarli 1, has moved past Shane. Shane goes to third. Shane goes to fourth. Fighting with J-Bots to try and stay around there. It's Fluorescent and Sarli 1 now coming up to the ladders pair. Fluorescent 1/10 of a second behind Sarli 1 into the corkscrews. That is really tight and Sarli 1 is making it very nice too. And in fact Sarli 1 pulled away by about 3/10 of a second from going into the corkscrews and coming out the other end. This is Alexander flying now. Really starting to show us what he can do for XBlades. But Fluorescent is a brilliant pilot. He's brand new to the DCL. He only joined Cyclone very recently in Split 2. But he's an amazing real-life pilot here in Abu Dhabi. So many people are talking about him. Can he do anything about Sarli 1? It looks like Sarli 1 just continues to get away. But behind Shane, who's in second, is J-Box and Fluorescent. And there's only a few tenths of a second between Shane taking second place and Cyclone spoiling this for XBlades. That is such good flying from Shane. He's even challenging Sarli 1. And Sarli 1 goes to the back. And this turns from a 1-2 to XBlades until a bit of a mess for them. And Cyclone now really close to trying and get more points. It's 5 points all. If Sarli 1 can hang on a third, he'll keep a little bit of an advantage over Cyclone. But it's Fluorescent in the lead until the very end. Shane by about 5/100ths of a second over Fluorescent. It was Fluorescent's so close on one of the final turns. Cyclone's Fluorescent moved up, was briefly in the lead, lost it by 5/100ths of a second, and that race goes to 5 points all. And another matchup really that looked like XBlades were in control of throughout, with a few mistakes from some pilots. Looked like the challenges were going to be a bit mixed. Ends up being 5 points all. That feels like points lost by XBlades. And Cyclone coming out of that in a better position than it seemed they would manage to do. There's now 11 points, 2-9, the 2-point advantage in favour of XBlades. And what we're looking at here is what happened in the first matchup between XBlades and Cyclone, as it was so close between them then. We had close racing between Cyclone and Quad Force 1. Split 1 finals. That looked a little bit like this as well. These teams know what this pressure is like, but they've never done it in 7 races in a final. This is the 3rd one, and the pairings have changed. Yayu with Sali 1 sat right next to him here in Abu Dhabi. The Ice Cheetah racing with Fluorescent. XBlades still, that narrow 2 points advantage. One knows 2 extra points. What can they do here? Sali 1, Yayu starts off strongly. Fluorescent takes his experience from the last race, turns that into a small lead over them early in lap number 1. Into the pair of ladders, Fluorescent has Yayu just ahead of him. Sali 1 challenging as well, but Fluorescent manages to stay still ahead of them by about a 10th. Round the corkscrews, exit through the 5th surprise one. That's all good. Fluorescent still in the lead around the far side to the goalposts. Oh, Yayu overshoots that completely. Fluorescent still in the lead. Sali 1 lots further behind now. A half a second has fallen. 1.5 seconds. It's all come undone for Sali 1 on our stage. Yayu bounced it off the ground and is 4 seconds out of the action. Can the Ice Cheetah turn it up now? He's been last in a lot of the races today. He's the captain of Cyclone Racing, and unfortunately he's crashed and lost even more time. It doesn't look like Cyclone can get anything more than the Ice Cheetah coming in 4th place. But what about Fluorescent? He is away, and we're on board with Sali 1, who cannot see him at all. Nearly 5 seconds and most of a lap and a bit to go. Fluorescent has to hold this together, and he's got such a new history in the DCL, but he's a very experienced pilot. He's been under pressure before. He's got to do nothing stupid and hold this. We're on board with Sali 1 going on to the final lap, who can't see him at all. Fluorescent nearly 5 seconds ahead through the block trade tunnel. This is a brilliant performance from him. Slightly slow into the pair of ladders, but it's okay. Sali 1's not close enough to take advantage of that. And if anything, the gap continues to extend as Fluorescent shows us what he can do. Fluorescent around the far side to the goalpost, under and over that. 2 ladders now. First one goes up, second one goes down. This is all good for Fluorescent. This was part of the 6 turns through the slalom before you get the 3 turns in the ATRL gates. Fluorescent surely with a win. There it is. And that is essential for Cyclone, as they're nowhere near getting any more points out of this. Sali 1 and Yayu coming in, but looking like a lot of pressure. Look at the faces in the top right of the screen. Yayu not happy with that. Sali 1 getting a serious face on. The Ice Cheetah looking a little bit happy. He's thoroughly enjoying his racing because he's enjoying what his team can do. It would be great if he could help score a few more points for them as well, but he knows he's got a fantastic team of people who are able to do it. And that race becomes another 5-all between them. 3rd race of this matchup. Let's see the scores so far. So close. Just 2 points in it. XBlades just 2 points ahead of Cyclone Racing from that first race. And remember, there are 7 to come in this one. Another 2v2 and then 3 big heats, and a lot of points available in those. Here's the lineups for the 4th race in our final. Shane and Star 2, 3, 4, 6, 7 against J-Box and Zion. And we may just have a moment's pause before we get into the next match, as our pilots aren't quite ready here on our stage. You can see the arms in the air, and none of the pilots want to start this race just now. We've got 4 pilots not taking part in this big heat. It should be a 2v2. It should be the 4th of the 2v2s. We appear to be running a big heat. Maybe we'll stick with it and keep the pilots who are in it and just treat it as a 2v2. But that doesn't look right. Yeah, that race is not going to continue. That's not the race that should be happening next. It should be a 2v2. It should be featuring Shane and Star 2, 3, 4, 6, 7 against J-Box and Zion FPV. It looked like everybody was getting ready to fly in that one. But in this big format we have for our finals, Shane and Star against J-Box and Zion. We've got a 2v2 to enjoy with them before the big heats are coming. They are coming, 3 of them. If we get a tie break, there'll be a 4th. And these pilots have never raced 7 races in a row. They never even raced 6 like they did in the semi-finals earlier on today. 3 big heats, 4 2v2s before them as well. That is a lot of action. This is the challenge we've set them, as well as this really technical track. How can they respond to this? Currently, it's so close. XBlades 2 points ahead of Cyclone. It was really close. Let's remember, when we started our stream about 2 hours ago today, the first matchup was XBlades Cyclone in the semi-final before Cyclone fell to the elimination. And a big part of XBlades beating Cyclone was the 10 points they got in one of the big heats when they swept them. That is unlikely to happen again, particularly as these pilots are flying much better than they did earlier. J-Box and Zion, Star and Shane. Through the A2 Argouts into the block trade tunnel. Shane, then J-Box, Star, then Zion. Quarter of a second, top to bottom for all of them. Star and Shane top and tailing it. J-Box, Zion switching places between the 2 XBlades pilots. Need to be thinking, and they are, about switching places with the pilots in light blue. Shane just about keeping with Zion, giving him something to think about. You can see him down on the 3rd pilot down on the right-hand side of the screen. That's Zion, who's now 3 or 4 seconds behind and looking a lot more serious. That's a problem for him, but his teammate J-Box is where he needs to be, cancelling out the scores by being out in front. Yayu at the top of the screen, Sali one as well. Look at the concentration on them. They're not in this race. They're cheering on Shane and Star and spotting for them, keeping an eye on the timings, letting the teams know the gaps are there. And yes, you can see them on the screen, but the pilots aren't looking at that as they're concentrating so much on the racing in front of them. XBlades having a 2-point lead. If it carries on like this, they'll get 4 more. Shane and Star now clear ahead of J-Box and Zion by almost 2 seconds, going on 3. Shane with a good lead over Star, and then there's a big gap for Cyclone to try and catch them. It's going to need a real problem for Star for them to get anywhere near. And what was a 5 points all situation with J-Box in the front and Zion at the back is looking a lot worse now for Cyclone. This can't be how they continue into the big heats. Shane is down. Star's past him, J-Box hasn't. If he'd been closer, this could be a very different outcome as Shane rattled it onto the floor. Has recovered it now, continues to fly. If anything, is gaining again on Star, who's only a little bit out in front of him. Zion and J-Box, they want to write this race from memory. Get it done and get it forgotten about, as this is all a horrible race for Cyclone. Star and Shane get it. The faces of the XBlades pilots looking a little bit more relieved. Cyclone are home now. Zion's home. J-Box misses the finish. That does happen rarely in the DCL, but it can happen. He came back and made it. And by doing so, got 1 point for Cyclone of the 3 that they managed to score. XBlades, first and second, 4 and 3 points, 7. That's a much bigger lead over Cyclone than they had. 23 points to 17. What was a 2-point gap? That single heat there, that 2v2, has massively changed it. 23 points to 17, but 3 big heats and 30 points available from them. 3 more races before we know who the Split 2 champions of the Drone Champions League are. Yayu and Star and Shane and Sally 1, J-Box, Fluorescent, Zion and the Ice Cheetah. Is this the moment that Cyclone show us the resilience and the charge that they had in the racing earlier on when they only narrowly lost to XBlades until that big heat problem? Can they do it now, or are XBlades with the fire in the belly ready to run and keep this thing? Shane, Yayu, J-Box, Fluorescent, Star pilots all around. Fluorescent, J-Box joins him at the front. Yayu slips past both of them and moves up to first. Small gaps early in lap number 1. J-Box flying ever tighter, moving underneath Yayu, trying to go past him. Almost does. Comes out of the A2RL gates. Yayu still there in front of J-Box by less than 1/10 of a second and on to the second lap. J-Box hugs the ladder, got a little bit close, sees Yayu just flying in and out of his vision, through the 2A2R gates and down through block trade. J-Box was good on the tight corners, not so good down the straight. J-Box challenging him now though, through those pair of ladders. Shane just behind J-Box, Fluorescent very close to them as well. Then a bit of a gap, it looks like the 4 pilots who are going to be taking points are mostly XBlades. J-Box really needs to get up to first. If they don't get anything more out of this, they'll get 4 points for first place. That'll mean XBlades will only get 6. So J-Box really needs to catch Yayu. More than that, they need Zion FPV and the Ice Cheetah and Fluorescent to race this, get a lot of experience and practice out of it, smooth out the lines, and then come and steal both of the big heats that are still to follow. J-Box goes from second to third by a matter of a few hundredths of a second, back into it and close to the ground. He flies into the corkscrew with light blue XBlades drones everywhere. XBlades clean sweep the team earlier on. They're surely not going to do it now. Yayu out in the lead. J-Box within 0.2 of a second of him. Good round the ladders. A little bit slower for XBlades. Yayu not quite as far ahead of J-Box as he was. J-Box slips through on the slalom. Tries to get him at the end. Nearly does. 0.1 of a second. Yayu beats out J-Box, and then XBlades come and grab all the remaining points that they can. Big applause here in Abu Dhabi for the brilliant racing that we're seeing. 7 more points. 30 points to 20. XBlades now with a whole big heat lead to spare and 2 big heats to come. This could be really important now. The next big heat can really change things. There's another 7 points to 3. A big surprise for that team. Cyclone maybe just haven't got it in them to change it around and catch Xbox. 2 races to go. XBlades just still there. 10 points available in this big heat and another one to follow. Cyclone have got to do amazing things right now. Their team, such good names on it. Fluorescent, Zion, J-Box, the Ice Cheetah doing a great job of captaining the team. Now, Cyclone, it has to be now. There's one more race after this, but you can't go into it with a 10-point deficit. Shane out in front. Fluorescent, Star, and then Yayu hovering around J-Box. Sully one not too far behind that either. Zion down in 7th, the Ice Cheetah behind him. J-Box drops out of those top scoring positions. Tries to fight back towards him, and he's been passed by Yayu. Shane still in front of him as well. 1 lap down, 2 laps to go. Shane, then J-Box again as he gets through in front of Yayu, and Yayu sees that purple drone where it wasn't before. He sees another one now as Yayu's been passed by Fluorescent too. They are absolutely side by side, barely any thousandths of a second between them. J-Box still trying to catch Shane. He's the one you've got to get the points from. We don't want a 5-all situation here, XBlades and Cyclone. XBlades will be happy with it. Cyclone have got to stop this. J-Box in second, none of his teammates in the scoring positions. It feels like at the end of this long season through 2023 and the undefeated season that XBlades have had in Split 2, it feels like at the death here with only a few more laps to go here and in the final race, it seems that XBlades are going to be back on winning form. Can J-Box do anything about it? He's less than a 1/10 of a second behind the lead. Yayu's there as he's been so often today and yesterday, and J-Box is above him, tries to turn on the inside around the far side, corkscrews, brilliant pre-turn through there. Yayu still in front of him out of the ladders and further than he was. Yayu with Shane trying to back him up and J-Box between them still. J-Box has to get first here. He's surely going to do something about this thing from XBlades, but he doesn't. It is a 1-2 and 4th for XBlades. That is another 8 points for them. J-Box, the sole battler in these big heats for Cyclone. 0.7 of a second between our winner and the best of Cyclone there. Yayu doing brilliant work again. All of the XBlades pilots putting up a fight in various places of that battle. We have one more race, one more DCL big heat to go. Wow. What a score. XBlades, barring a couple of 5-all draws with Cyclone, have won every race out of 6 in the matchup that we're having so far. XBlades undefeated in the season. And we're the Drone Champions League. We've been running since 2016. We are live with our shows here on Twitch. We also have all of the magazine programs that we've been featuring for the last few years in our virtual racing. They're all available on our YouTube channel. We also have our real life races from locations like the Great Wall of China, from a mountaintop in Switzerland, and from a salt mine in Transylvania. You can watch all of that at youtube.com/Drone Champions League. You can watch so many years of racing. But right now, it's the end of our Split 2 finals. The final race upon us now. Can Cyclone finish with a little bit more pride? XBlades will be feeling a little bit more relaxed coming into this. Fluorescent ahead of Zion. But the XBlades pilot splitting them again. XBlades in such a strong position throughout Split 2. Undefeated in 18 race days. Undefeated in the matches yesterday. Undefeated earlier today. And now they'll love to win this final race too. Sully 1 and Shane starting to try and change the positions of J-Box and Zion. And J-Box helps them with a little bit of a bump there. Drops back into 4th place. 1 down for XBlades. And Shane starts to take on Zion. Zion desperately wanting to finish this in style for his team and come away with this with a little bit more points on the tally. But Shane is back in front of him. And here comes Cyclone. Fluorescent now, and J-Box back into the points. It's a little bit too late, but like I said, can they finish with a bit more pride? There's no shame in losing to XBlades. They were 5-time undefeated world champions. Now it looks like they're going to be back on form. And Cyclone, a team who only joined the DCL this year. XBlades have been with us since we began in 2016. No shame ever in losing to XBlades. Zion doesn't fancy losing to them in this race. He's got 1 lap to try and do something about it. Fluorescent with him as well. It's still Shane out in front by about 1/10 of a second. The final lap here. Shane trying to win it for XBlades through the pair of ladders. Fluorescent moves up, gets ever so close to Shane. It's still Zion there as well. Shane still out in front. Sully 1 too far behind. Will it be Shane? Can Zion or Fluorescent get him? We go to the goalpost. Fluorescent devours them. We go into the ladders. Fluorescent still in 3rd. Shane a bit close to the ground. Zion a bit close to the ground as well. Shane overshoots part of the slalom but keeps it going. He's out through the gates. 1, 2, 3, 4, and XBlades win dominantly the finals of the Drone Champions League Split 2. Shane comes in 1st. Sully 1 comes in 4th. And a huge lead in points leading up to that point. The undefeated season of XBlades Racing. It's theirs. What a dramatic Split 2 we've had every year of the DCL, always filled with incredible competition. And XBlades, legends who fans have supported for so many years since the DCL began, finally getting a win. It's not a world championship yet. Let's not take that away from them. It is a brilliant match resulting in the Split 2 finals at the culmination of many months of racing and the 18 race days that led us to this point, all of which have been dominated by XBlades, who never lost a match. We'll be going to our prize giving here on our stage in Abu Dhabi in just a moment. Before we do, let's see if we can get an interview with one of XBlades. Here he comes. We'll bring in Swan. We've chatted a few times this weekend on and off stream. I'm going to drag you in. Get over here. You're so quick. Why is it taking you so long to come and join me? You're the champions! XBlades, it's been a long time. It's been basically 3 years. Let's do this again.
Crazy.
XBlades, have a champion's title. You are the Split 2 champion. Swan, how do you feel?
Oh, amazing, yeah. Finally, yeah. It's been like me for 2 years and the team for 3 years now. We have been looking for a title and finally we got it. So yeah, it's a lot of happiness.
And you've done it here with Saliwan next to you on a live stage in this beautiful mall in the beautiful Abu Dhabi. You know, there's pressure on everybody here, but to win it in front of a live audience, does that feel extra special?
Yeah, that's different because like you got more pressure. You know, there is people just behind you. Yeah, that's crazy. Like on the live street, I couldn't concentrate. I was like so happy. Crazy.
And you've been making a lot of friends here in Abu Dhabi. All of our pilots on this incredible stage, surrounded by audience on all the sides here. You've been picking up little fans, you've been making friends with people, we've had kids coming over wanting you to sign things from them. What's that been like for you?
Oh yeah, it's great, like that yeah, we got some recognition, from the people, yeah, feeling very great.
And at the end of that, you were obviously talking throughout that race and the other races earlier on. We could see you spotting for your guys from home as well, for Shane,
sure.
Star 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, who aren't here in Abu Dhabi. As soon as that race over, tell me what the comms were like between the four of you. Like
at the end of when we were sure that we were champion, like just everyone just screaming. Yeah, it was like finally, yeah. Yeah.
And that's a word I actually associate with you. I've heard you say that a few times. You go, finally.
Yeah.
And I love the way he says it. Give us a finally.
Yeah, finally.
Finally. Finally.
Yeah.
Yeah, finally. That's right. In more ways than one, XBlades getting a title again. If we go back a few months to the Split 1 finals earlier in 2023, you'd had a really good season. You weren't undefeated. You won 17 out of 18. You lost a matchup. I mean, that's still pretty good, isn't it? You came into that, people putting you as the favourites, and you came out of the Split 1 finals in third as a team, getting knocked down into that.
Yeah, this was a lot of...
Raiden against Quad Force 1 in the final, and Raiden got the title. Raiden went out of this in 6th. Your biggest rivals, really, for the World Championship. Yeah. You've won it. That's quite a statement.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, the first split was a lot of frustration for all the team. We just didn't fly well in the final, and yeah. Split 2 champion, it's just crazy.
Yep. We're going to give you some trophies. We're going to give you a big trophy and the title of Split 2s. We're going to do that next. First, we're just going to give you a little peek at the exciting future of the DCL. we'd like to thank everybody here in the beautiful Yas Mall in Abu Dhabi for the incredible welcome that they've given to the Drone Champions League. And we've absolutely loved bringing the world's best teams here for such an incredible event. Live from Abu Dhabi with our Split 2 finals, which nearly concludes our 2023 season, although there is one more super final to come in about a month's time. Make sure you follow the Drone Champions League to find out more about that as we announce it very, very soon. But one of our teams has secured a spot in that by becoming the Split 2 champions. And now for our prize giving, to congratulate the 3 brilliant teams on today's podium. First, please welcome to our stage our guests to help us present the prizes. Michael Costa, the board member of Drone Champions League, and Karum Hassan, the director of the A2RL, the Abu Dhabi Autonomous Racing League. In third place, after an amazing battle through the finals here, after a season which left them a little bit disappointed, they came up, they reminded us all the things we love about this American team. Their pride, their energy, and their brilliance when it counts. Please welcome third place in our Split 2 finals, it's Quad Force 1! Propsicle, QTFPV, and all the pilots that make up the amazing team back near the top of our leaderboard and looking forward to see what they do in future. Ladies and gentlemen, Quad Force 1! And drone dads are very important too. There's Mr. Propsicle. Our runners-up in the incredible Split 2. What an amazing battle they gave us. Of the new teams who joined in 2023, this team haven't just outperformed the other new teams. They have outperformed almost all of the teams who have been with the DCL for so many years. What an impact they've given us. So much fun meeting them and racing and seeing what they can do as well. Can't wait to see what the future holds for our runners-up, Cyclone Racing! Zion FPV, the Ice Cheater, and the manager of the team, Papa Woody. The runners-up, deserved second place, nearly first. What a battle. It's Cyclone Racing. And now we welcome our new champions from the Split 2 finals, a team that have been synonymous with the DCL ever since we began in 2016. There they won our individual seasons. They then won the team championship from 2017 for 5 consecutive years. Long-time world champions, not in recent years. Didn't win Split 1 even. But finally we can say the most famous team, perhaps in the whole world of drone racing, are back on winning form. Ladies and gentlemen, the Split 2 champions of the DCL, it's XBlades Racing again! Sully1 and Yayu accepting the prize on behalf of the brilliant XBlades Racing organisation. So many people will be happy to see them on winning ways again, and a lot of teams in the DCL having a lot to think about. Your champions of the Split 2 finals, and perhaps the world champions to wait to be at the end of the year. It is XBlades! Let's bring all of our teams back in again. And perhaps the other pilots we can get in here as well. China Dragons, Raiden, all of our teams, STT Perpetuum Coin. Let's have all these incredible pilots to come back in onto our stage. Cyclone Racing as well, of course, our runners-up. XBlades in the middle. Our third place team of Quad Force 1, let's have you near the front as well. And we also have our pilots from China, Dragons, who came 4th, and STT Perpetuum Coin, who came in 5th. And Vincent Mines and Longcat from Raiden Racing, our 6th place team. Such legends, all of them as well. So pleased to see so brilliant performances from our pilots. Ladies and gentlemen, the legends of the Drone Champions League, and our champions again, it's XBlades! XBlades Racing and all of our other teams. Such a great year. Thanks very much for all the racing you've given us. Thanks to everybody for watching the Drone Champions League as well. There's more to come in 2023. Don't forget the super final to see who will be the 2023 World Champions of the Drone Champions League. That is still to come. Make sure you follow the Drone Champions League on all of our social media to find out when the super final is coming and who will be the teams who get to race in it. We know that XBlades are going to be there. We know that Raiden Racing are going to be racing with you as well. The other teams in the final, we'll find out soon. But from me, Matt Andrews, and all, more importantly, of these wonderful guys, and thanks again to Abu Dhabi. We'll see you for the 2023 World Championship in a few weeks' time. But for now, congratulations again to XBlades, and thanks for watching from Abu Dhabi.